Well, one of the things you want to do with pivot tables, or you wind up doing in practice, is you create them and then you turn them over to somebody else for them to look at and maybe do some filtering on their own and manipulating. That other person could be somebody, a coworker, or your boss, or a customer, or a vendor, or anybody else. And sometimes what you want them to do is not have to train them how to do pivot tables, but maybe allow them to do some filtering on their own. So I call this topic user filtering, and let's go insert a pivot table. And we'll drag it over here, and we'll call it video E. I'm changing the names as I go along, or user filtering. Okay, now let's see. Come on over here and let's do the usual. We'll throw customers on the left and total on the right, and we'll make this money and get rid of the pennies, that kind of stuff. Now, suppose you want to send this over to a product manager who is interested in the various sizes of widgets. You can take something we haven't done yet is take size and drag it down here in the filter group. Now, that puts this up at the top of the screen, and it says filter all. So I can come in here and select to see just the medium, for example. And when I do, it filtered and it's showing me only medium, and the word medium shows up here. It's a very quick way of doing filtering, but it has some nasty limitations. I'll show you in a minute. Let's just change this to large and see what it looks like. So now these numbers are a little bit smaller. You can come down here and check the box to say select multiple items, and then you get check boxes up here. There's a huge problem as far as I'm concerned with this, and that is if I select both small and large but not medium, then it says up here multiple items, and I can't tell just by looking at the screen that I'm looking at right now what the heck it is I'm filtering on. So as far as I'm concerned, this filter feature over here breaks down when you are selecting more than one item. For handling that in a better way, there's a feature called a slicer. So let's come up here, and this time we'll come up to the Analyze tab up here, and there's this item called Insert Slicer. So let's just click that. This thing will pop up, and what I want to do is insert a slicer on, let's say, Sales Rep. Click on OK, and this panel opens up here. Now, notice this doesn't have anything to do with what's going on over here. Slicer lives out by itself on the screen. It's not a part of these quadrants. As a matter of fact, let's take the size filter and get rid of it for a minute. And so that just disappeared when I dragged the size out of filter. Now, here's a list of all the salespeople in all the sales across the system. And right now, they all have a bluish tint to them. That means they're selected. I can click on these things and select just one person at a time, like that. So there's Robert Claimant and Arthur Moore and so on. If I want to see more than one sales rep, then I can just hold down the control key and I can have multiple selected. And the beauty of this thing is then, now I can tell for sure in a glance what I have filtered, which I couldn't do with the filtering feature that's over here in the quadrants. If I click on this, it removes all filters and puts everybody back. I can have slicers on more than one value. So come on, click in the table, come on up here to Analyze and add another slicer. And this time let's slice on color. So now I'm slicing on Sales Rep and color, and I'm going to make this one a little bit taller because there's more colors. And right now I'm selecting on everything. But suppose I wanted to ask the question, for Arthur Moore, how many beige and blue did he sell? So I'm selecting this and selecting any combination of these over here, and I can see what the totals are. And it's self-explaining, meaning if I ship this over to somebody else in an email, they can see quickly what I filtered on. Even a vice president could understand this screen. So this ability to filter here, as far as I'm concerned, is fairly limited. It does have if you want to just filter on one thing. So let's put widget here in the filter, and now I'm filtering on just the very first widget, and there were no sales by Arthur Moore. Let's put all the everybody back in. So here's Daryl Johnson and Arthur Moore of copper colored widgets. So it can get a little confusing if you mix these up. I think you're better off just sticking to slicers when you're going to do filtering for users. I want to also point out that there is another kind of filter called a timeline, but I'm going to leave that one for you to figure out on your own.